On this episode of Geek Out Loud, we are remembering Peter David, among other things. It's your safe place to geek out. This is Geek Out Loud podcast. Well, hello everyone, and welcome. Well, I removed myself from the stage over on the YouTube side of things. Welcome everyone. Welcome to Geek Out Loud. I'm Steve Glosson. I am the person who will have a hard time getting anything right on this particular episode. Let me take off the double glasses and get rocking and rolling here. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So glad to have everyone along with us. We've got a few people live over at YouTube in the chat. We're live at YouTube. We're live at Rumble. We are live at Mixler. We are just live all over the place. So I want to thank everyone for hanging with us, being here. Yeah, we are good, making sure we're live there. So as far as I know, we are everywhere we need to be, and then some. So thanks everyone for joining us. Glad to have you along with us. Now, I'll be honest with you, we're not going to be as fancy on this episode as we've been on other episodes. I don't have all of my assets loaded. That word was assets. I don't have all the graphics that I wish I had loaded up for you. So it's just going to be this face for most of the time. But we'll try to make do. We'll try to get by, and and I get by with a little help from my friends. So basically what's needed in this life is a producer of some sort. But then I would feel like here's my problem. I don't think I'm a control freak until I sit down to do something. Then yes, I'm a control freak. And that can be an issue. That can be a real problem because I don't want anyone messing around with my stuff. I don't want anyone messing around with the way I'm doing things. And so then I get set in my ways, and before you know it, I'm still using FeedBurner for podcast feeds. I'm not doing YouTube the way you're supposed to do YouTube. I'm trying to stream with weird software. And then I say, well, let me do this. And before you know it, here we are with just a boring old video podcast. And why would anyone ever watch this? Look at this now. Oh, hey, I am thirsty now that I think about it. I should have done this before I ever got on screen here. Hey, everybody. Welcome in. I say all that to say, hey, welcome. And it's totally a control freak, but I get it. It's your baby. That's what Tintin says. You know what? It kind of is. I guess it is my baby. No one else has done Geek Out Loud. There was, and I don't. You know what? On the after party the other week, this has been several weeks ago on the Mixler after party. I confess, I did not record it, but I confess, I don't know who my friends are online anymore in the podcasting sphere. Obviously, Derek Russell, podcasting partner for life. Luke Bug, the Geek of Steel. He's a new friend. Scott Rifen, I know he's a friend. Riley Blanton, I know he's a friend. The guys over at Rule the Galaxy, they're friends. Joey Marinere and the gang, who they're live right now. Why are you listening to me when you could be listening to those guys? Jason and Jimmy Mack, they're still friends, but honestly, outside of that, I don't really know who's friends anymore. But I will say this: it's been what now? 15 years ago, maybe 13 years ago. Took a break for a lot of things, and during that time, I had someone reach out to me and want to buy Geek Out Loud, and wanted to continue Geek Out Loud. And even in my lack of desire to do it at the time, I'm like, no, you can't have this. I've built this thing. We built this city. Oh, don't get copywritten. We built this podcast on Geek Out Loud. So yeah, anyway, what was I talking about? Control freak, that's me. So, would it help to have a producer? Probably. Would it go well? Would I work well with probably not. Um, or maybe I would, you never know. You never really know with folks. So, um, okay, I see. I was hearing some weird crackling and I'm like, what was that? And then I found out what it was. So I think we're good now. Let's see who's around here. Over in the Mixler chat, it looks to be just the Cattle Boss hanging out in the Mixler chat. I don't see anyone else over there with you, Cattle Boss. Good to have you. I can see the Mixler chat this week, so that's nice. Here in our YouTube chat, let's see who's around. Uh-oh, what have I done? Uh, how about a roll call in the old YouTube chat? I see Brian Kent. Steve's the best. That's why I listen. I don't know about that. Our friend Art with Jimmy, also known as Jimmy in Georgia, who's actually in Missouri. We got Tinton. We got Black Hawk Wrestler, who was live. We're live all around the Golaverse. And this is his first live YouTube, first goal live YouTube on first live goal on YouTube, I should say. So welcome in, Black Hawk Wrestler. Good to have you with us, sir. John Phillips moved over from Mixler today. I don't want mix. Here's the thing. In my heart of hearts, Dylan Newhouse. Oh, Dylan Newhouse, classic Mixler Zoo crew member. In my heart of hearts, I don't want that Geek Evan is here, first live goal as well. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I don't want Mixler to go away because in my life and in my heart, the podcast is an audio medium. And I grew up loving talk radio. I grew up loving morning zoo crew type radio. I grew up just that was my jam. And so I always dreamed of doing radio, and having the radio show and everything. Unfortunately, you have to have all the right connections, live in a place, and know what you're doing. And I never did know what I was doing. But then, fortunately, podcasting came along, and I was able to take this not knowing what I'm doing and actually put it into something that I was enjoying to do. So Mixler, we'll always go live at Mixler when it comes time to go live, just because that's Mixler. But trying out the YouTube, trying out the Rumble stuff, it's all new and fresh, and it's kind of freshen up the way that we get to do Geek Out Loud, or I get to do Geek Out Loud, and so that's kind of fun. But now there are restrictions that come with it, and by restrictions I mean YouTube's ridiculous just copyright stuff that goes on. I don't want to DJ the top 40 hits for everybody, but y'all know we have fun with music in the Golaverse. Y'all know that we do our thing where we play a song, we sing along, we have our little themes that we like to do. And all of that is stripped away if we do the YouTube platform, and we have to figure out workarounds and everything. Well, thankfully, and this is the only time you hear me say thank you for AI, but thankfully AI is a thing now, and we can AI it up, and we've made some various tunes with AI. So that's the way we go. Let's see what we've got here from that Geek Evan says, been watching / listening to Skynet Steve since the Skynex days, since I was in high school. Wow, forever ago, man. Skynex, what a trip that show was. What a man. Now look, okay. There are some of you who are like, what in the world is Skynext? Skynext was a podcast that I and my podcasting partner for life, Derek Russell, did together. And it was a reaction show to Sarah Connor, the Terminator, the Sarah Connor Chronicles. It was a show that aired on Fox for, was it 2 seasons, maybe 3? And these are statements I made while watching that show and reacting to that show on the podcast with Derek. This is the most well-written show on television. That's what I said at the time. Have I gone back and rewatched that show at all? Not at all. That was Steve in the heart of the hype. Did I enjoy the show? I sure did. I got into it. I enjoyed it. We were able to meet Brian Austin Green because of that. Brian Austin Green portrayed Metallo on Smallville because of that. And it was a good show. I think it was. I don't like the way it ended necessarily, but it was a good show, and we had fun doing Sky Next. What's really funny about that, and Derek and I have talked about this before publicly, is we started out and Derek took it so seriously, and I just kind of followed his lead. So it was really just a recap show and a little bit of a review. And the antics that we did over on Starkville's House of L, the Smallville podcast, um, we didn't do at first on Sky Next. And then there was one night where it was just a late night. It was a type of recording I can't do anymore. I can't do, hey, let's stay up till 2 a.m. and record a podcast. I don't know that I have that in me anymore. And but we did, and we got loopy and we started getting silly and having fun. And there were so many jokes that came out of that. Breaking Bad was doing real good. Right. Dylan, I don't know that I think Breaking Bad was after Terminator: the Sarah Connor Chronicles. But right. Um Breaking Bad was fun. There was no conclusion, Jimmy. You're at to the Sarah Connor Chronicles. It ended with like them getting transported to the future, and like Derek Reese had gotten shot in the head and killed, and then they get to the future and there he's there. So it was weird. Black Hawk Wrestler says, I miss Edna. We all miss Edna, but she's retired. I think she's um retired to New Mexico or something, the land of enchantment. Anyway, Sky Next was awesome. It was the start of the friendship contract with Brian Austin Green. Was that, or did we do that on? See, that feels like a bit we did on Shoe. That feels like a bit we did on Starkville House of L. Ken Davis says top 40 with Steve on Friday nights would definitely be an experience. I'm Steve Glosson, and this is the Top 40 Countdown. I could do that, yeah. Welcome back to the Top 40. Checking in at number 35 this week is a new band straight out of the Midwest. That kind of thing. These guys got together when their moms grounded them and they had to get online secretly and play with GarageBand. I could do that, yeah. And now your long distance request and dedication. What I would have to do though is I can't stand top 40 music today. I would have to I'd have to do like, and here's the top 40 from 1985, from this week in 85, where the Chronicles canon to T1 and T2 but not T3. Well, Mr. C, a layman, I yes, I think that the Sarah Connor Chronicles undid Terminator 3. And I think that what Jimmy and George just said it over in the mix chat. Would you do top 40? Yes, that's exactly. I just said that. Maybe I said that, but I didn't see you say that. But that's what I was thinking. I think that every Terminator since Terminator 3 has come around has tried to undo Terminator 3, which I don't understand. I mean, I do understand, but I don't. I thought Terminator 3 was good. It just was depressing the way it ended. So the Cybertronic Spree would need to be on that top 40 show. Is the Cybertronic Spree the group that dresses up as Transformers and plays like Stan Bush songs and everything? I don't know. I, okay. Let me, you know what? Oh my gosh, I forgot to let me Google that for you thing again. I need to load that in. You know what? I'm going to do that right now if I can find it. I'm going to load in to my media assets. Let me Google that for you, so that I will always be able just to pull it up immediately. But I gotta be able to find it. So I think it's going to be here, and I think it's going to be way down here, and I think it's going to be. It's just Google that. No, there it is. Yes. So all right. So here we go. I'm gonna Google. I haven't looked back in the chat, so let me see.
Let me Google that for you.
All right, so let me Google that for you. Cybertronic, and now I get to show off my Google Foo. It sure is. It's exactly what I thought it was. Yeah, I'm not. Do they have original music, or are they are they just a cover band? Not just a cover band. I'd love to be in a cover band. Bumpers. Yeah, I really need StreamYard to have a more. Here's my problem right now. If I welcome to Geek Out Loud, everybody. Want to thank everyone who supports the show through. There wasn't a glitch there. I want to thank everyone who supports the show through Patreon at patreon.com/Geek Out Loud. I want to say welcome to everyone who's joining us live, and those who are in the playback Zoo crew. Welcome to you as well. Thank you for downloading the show. Thank you for listening. Thank you for subscribing. Make sure you like and subscribe and share and comment and all of those things. Now, what was I talking about? The interface with StreamYard. I have right now, you can load up like the music that you want to play. So like I can load up the drops for like the email, for the intro of the show and everything. And that way everyone can hear it and it records well. If I try to bring in sound from my computer into StreamYard, it ends up being not so clear in the video recording of things. So I there has to be a workaround, because I have a great little program that's essentially a soundboard that I just click the soundboard and there it is. Now I wonder if, gosh, this is going to get really complicated, but I wonder if I ran yet another piece of equipment to the soundboard that's running this microphone and other things back into the soundboard, I would need a whole butt studio to do that. And what I've got right now is a little room that is overfilled with collectibles and a desk that's too big for the room, and too much stuff on the walls. It is sensory overload. And don't even ask about how the floors look, because I'll tell you, they look terrible. They look absolutely atrocious. It is a mess in here. This place is a wreck. So anyway, so if anyone is like a StreamYard expert, then that's fine. All right, Black Hawk Wrestlers has 2 albums. The first is a recording of the Transformers movie soundtrack. Second, Ravage, is all original. Okay, I'll have to check them out. My hand is touching your hand. Yes, there you go. Right, I understand. I think I saw where Tinton said, yeah, every time Steve raises his hand up on the right side, we should heart it up. Now, heart it up is a Mixler thing, everybody. So yeah, heart it up, Mixler over there. That's wild. John Phillips says I can watch the YouTubes and be in the chat. That's cool. Yes, it is cool. You just turn down the audio on Mixler and you can still Mixler chat. We have 7 hearts right now from what I can see over there at the Mixler. So now a whole butt studio. Yeah, it's a whole. That's what I need, is a whole butt studio. So these things we pray. Let's rewind to where we were. I have to now backtrack. I complained about the musical interface on StreamYard, or the sound interface, I should say. I Googled who Cybertronic Spree was, because we were talking about doing a top 40 show on Friday nights, because I was talking about my love for radio and how Mixler will always go live, even though it becomes more chat and stuff to watch. So here we are. We're back, and welcome to Geek Out Loud. So glad to have you on. We've got a big show, really big show for you. Really big show. We've got emails to jump into. We're going to talk a little Peter David. He passed last week or 2 weeks ago, and so we're going to talk about him a little bit. We're going to there was a new Superman trailer drop to announce that tickets were on sale, and it is chock full of stuff. Now, God forbid we watch it together, because Lord knows Warner Brothers will be like, no, No, you cannot watch the trailer on your show and encourage people to go see this movie. You forget you, Steve Clausen. And also, I saw Mission Impossible this week, and I have a few thoughts on that. And Fantastic Four is coming, and we've been kind of going through different major events in the Fantastic Four, and I've jumped way ahead now into what I'd like to talk about tonight. And time permitting, will we open a Star War? I don't know if a Star War is in reach right now or not. But if I can get one in reach, yeah, time permitting, we'll open a Star War, and I'll just take one. I'll take one off the wall. I ain't scared. I'll do it. I'll take one off the wall right now. Don't you talk to me that way. I'll take it. I'll take one right off the wall. Which one do I want to take off the wall, though? That's the question. Jump, jump into. You know what? Let's do this. It's time. We're here. Let's just jump into some emails right now. How about that? Let's jump into some emails.
Jump! Oh yeah! Time to jump into some emails. Yeah! Time to jump into some emails. We've got some emails. It's time to read. You sent an email to the show for me. So let's look at what you had to say. Let's read your email on the show today. It's time to read a little, yeah. It's time to read a little, oh, yeah. Jump, oh yeah. Time to jump into some emails. Yeah. Time to jump into some emails. We got some emails, it's time to read. You sent an email to the show for me. So let's look at what you had to say.
That song goes on a lot longer than our minute going on. So let's jump into some emails. Did I make a big enough fool of myself? I need an email graphic, and I haven't made one yet. So, all right, here we go. Sean Herb writes in, and he says this. Hi, Steve. Hi, Sean. I'm really enjoying your Geek Out Loud podcast and appreciate your approach to all things geekdom along your old school fun approach to all these topics. Also, really like the fact that that you're not afraid to combine your faith with this as well. A little background on me. I'm a kid of the 80s, so I'm into all things Star Wars, G.I. Joe, Transformers, 80s movies, 80s pop culture, Saturday morning cartoons, etc. One thing I never really got into as a kid was reading comics. Sure, I loved watching all the cartoons and movies based on these characters: Spider-Man, Justice League, X-Men, Wonder Woman with Linda Carter, Hulk as Lou Ferrigno, 89 Batman, of course, the Superman movies with Christopher Reeve. But really never knew or understood the comic side or origins of all these different characters. I didn't even understand the difference between DC and Marvel characters until the last 10 years. I just thought these characters were really cool. Now that I'm an adult, over the last 10 years, I've rediscovered my love of all things from my childhood and really desire to read more about the origins of these characters from the comics. Trouble is, the whole comic thing is overwhelming and confusing to jump into when you have no past connection to it. With that said, I need your help. Where do I start? I need some good recommendations for where to begin reading comics. I don't even care what characters. I just want the best stories. I tried some and have found that I'm not into all the newer stuff that is so dark, heavy, and just too much. I'm thinking 80s, 90s, or even earlier than that if recommended. I'm open to trying anything DC or Marvel. Just give me a list and any tips, tricks, or whatever I need to really enjoy these stories. Also, what is the best way to read all these comics? For Marvel stories, is Marvel Unlimited the best option? Anyway, any assistance you can provide would be great. Well, Sean, so glad you emailed. Thank you for that. And I will tell you, let's see, what does this say here? Have you seen on YouTube or Instagram all the world builders building space stations dioramas or just dioramas? Yes. Okay, Nebulous Nexus. I will be right back to this. Let me answer Sean, and I'll come back to you and answer this because I got distracted by the chat. I want to. Okay, so Tintin says this, and this is a good one. Sean, this is for you. I already know the answer. Start with the JLA trade paperback. That's a good one. And if Tintin, do you mean the Grant Morrison JLA? Because I will say this: that's what drugged me into DC in the mid late '90s. Grant Morrison's JLA is a great place DC wise, in my opinion, to start. That's a great run from the late '90s. Um, the first 5 issues, especially, are really good. Superman's Secret Origins, according to Ken Davis, is pretty good too. The death and return of Superman's storyline is, I mean, it is the one storyline I think that everyone thinks this is the best Superman ever, and it could be. It is. It's intriguing. It's good. The actual death of Superman is done so well. The return of Superman is done equally well. Um, there are a lot of ancillary characters that you might start chasing rabbits and going after and finding. And those stories have been collected in various trade paperbacks, omnibuses. So yeah, that'd be a good place. Now, those are both DC kind of things. Um, when it comes to Marvel, well, I think Marvel Unlimited is the best way to go. And I think pick a character and start there. So let's start with Spider-Man. Let's say Spider-Man in Marvel Comics. What is a great place to start reading Spider-Man? Honestly, the beginning. Do Amazing Fantasy 15, jump over to Amazing Spider-Man number 1, and on it, because what that does is it's going to set up for you that character, and early in Spider-Man's run, you get a lot of the villains that'll be set up later or that will still be around down the road. I mean, everyone from Green Goblin to Doctor Octopus, Sandman, Mysterio, the Lizard, um, all of them, are very early in that run, and um, I would say start there. Same thing with like Fantastic Four, the Incredible Hulk. Now Hulk's going to be an interesting one because you've got Incredible Hulk 1 through 6, and then it's Tales to Astonish that he's in then for like up until like issue number 102, and then 102 is back to the Incredible Hulk, and then from there till somewhere in the 400s, and then everything kind of gets wacky. But as far as Hulk stuff goes, I would read some of the earlier stuff. There is a continuative narrative that runs through, especially in the early days, but most of the stories are pretty one-off stories. Um, I would pick up around issue number 2. You know what? Just for the fun of it and to get Rocket Raccoon's first appearance in anything, I would go to issue 272, I believe, is where we see Rocket for the first time. Maybe it's 271. You might want to read Hulk 180 and 181, which is the first appearance of Wolverine. But Hulk 271 is the first appearance of Rocket Raccoon. And they just kind of read from there, because what happens is when the Hulk gets back from where he in space where he's been for so long, eventually Bruce Banner takes over the brain of the Hulk. And then when you come to the issue where there's a big thing out in the park that the Hulk goes and explores and checks out, that gets you to Marvel Superhero Secret Wars. Read Marvel Superhero Secret Wars from the 1980s and enjoy it. Have fun, because again, you're going to be introduced to a bunch of characters in a unique setting, and you can decide if you like them or not, to go try to find other things. Then when you come back into the Hulk mythos, Bruce Banner's going to lose control, and Hulk's going to go super duper savage. They're going to exile him to the crossroads of infinity. Doctor Strange will, and you may just want to check out 312, which really sets up. And we'll talk about this a little bit when we talk about the Peter David stuff. And the reason I'm just rolling through this is because you can go back and look and listen and hear these things, Sean. Hulk 312 really sets up where we go with Peter David's run starting in issue 330, really 328. But just read through. I would say read straight through for that. I mean, and you're thinking, good night, that's over 100 issues. Yeah, and it gets to be really worth it as you get to around 323 where the Gray Hulk returns and then beyond. It's just a superb run. Fantastic Four maybe a little bit more tricky. Anything John Byrne did, I love the latter 100s of the Fantastic Four. There's a whole thing where they kind of break up and the team dismantles, but there's still things that go on, and it culminates greatly in Fantastic Four number 200. Um, we'll talk some Fantastic Four tonight. Go back, but there's a lot of stuff like early Fantastic Four where you were first introduced to Doctor Doom, the coming of Galactus story arc. Now these can tend to be very wordy, and there's a lot that's happening. But those early '60s issues were very. They again, there were self-contained stories. There were a little bit of like to be continued next month, but overall there is a continuing story that runs through them, and you see character growth and character development and all take place, and all of those things. Avengers, uh, some of it, Acts of Vengeance. Just go to Marvel Unlimited and type in Acts of Vengeance and have fun. Um, anything where you can get to know these characters, first and foremost, in a big way. Other fun stuff, Marvel 2-in-1. Um, starring the Thing, Marvel team up with Spider-Man. Those are almost self-contained stories where they're teaming up with different heroes and people, month after month. Those are 70s and 80s comics, and so they're fun and really good. Those are the kind of things I would suggest. As far as, okay, everyone loves Batman. With Batman, golly, when you all of the stuff that people praise about Batman is stuff that I don't really care for because it gets so dark. So obviously, I think the Nightfall story arc where Batman gets his back broken, and then the Night's End and all that good stuff, and all that's a pretty good story arc. Hush from the early 2000s, written by Jeff Loeb with art by Jim Lee, is fantastic. It is on the dark side, but it's again, there's a lot of stuff there. Death in the Family is hard, but it's it is quintessential 90s Batman in a lot of ways. Um, so yeah, that's about the best I can point you to with Batman. Let's see if anything else. Oh, the Infinity Gauntlet. Yeah, the Infinity Gauntlet story. I mean, that's what Endgame in a lot of ways was based on. And though it's a completely different story with a completely different motivation from Thanos and everything, I think you'll enjoy it. I really enjoyed The Invincible Iron Man by Matt Fraction, art by Salvador LaRocca. That's art with Jimmy. Ken Davis says, try DC Infinite, Marvel Unlimited, or Amazon Kindle Unlimited for trying stuff out first, because getting some stories in print nowadays can get pricey. It really is. Digital is the way to go. Honestly, if you're just kind of getting started off, you just want to read for sure. Flash Born to Run is what got me started. Mark Waid's retelling of Wally West's origin. Indeed, that's a good one. Secret Wars, if you want a combo for Marvel, multiple characters to see if you enjoy them or not. That's Ken Davis. That's what I said, Ken. Good word. Tintin, Tintin is a comic book. I would put him in comic book expert land. We talked about what makes an expert about a month and a half back. Tintin is a comics expert, and he says for Marvel, my favorite is Matt Fraction's Hawkeye. It's a super easy read. So, yeah, there's a lot of it can get overwhelming. Superman for All Season is easy to read and very well, very very pretty to look at as well. Great art in that. Hush 2 is running right now in the Batman comics. Under the Red Hood for Batman as well, says Ken Davis. Under Siege, Avenger still hits hard for me, says Tintin. So good and heartbreaking. Yeah, so Marvel Unlimited is a way to go for Marvel. I guess I didn't realize DC Infinite was still a thing. So they have their you have a lot of stuff to read there as well. Kindle Unlimited, there are a lot of comics that you can just kind of read, if you do the Kindle Unlimited thing, and you get the Kindle app. You don't have to have a Kindle. You can get the Kindle app on your on your device and go for it. So yeah, Sean, I mean, I hope that wasn't too much information coming at you all at once. I know you said you kind of want to hang in the 80s, 90s era. There's some good stuff throughout. I am very particular to the Incredible Hulk, as we'll talk about in a moment. But you know, you don't want to jump into the Clone Saga over on the Spider-Man side of things right out of the gate because man, that gets crazy. Um, I I can't I can't recommend Civil War just because I didn't care for it, but I know some people do. Now, Black Hawk Wrestler says Kingdom Come is one of the most beautiful comics. Absolutely, Alex Ross art. Did Mark Waid write the story? It is incredible. But now Kingdom Come is not an easy entry point. If you're not well versed in some of the lore of DC, Kingdom Come can get a little bit over your head. I tried to jump into Kingdom Come without having a great foundation of DC back in the day, and it was lost on me how good that story is. But then, after spending some time in the DC universe, um, going back and reading it again, it is it's a comic masterpiece. I mean, it really is. I actually have a trade of it up here, right in front of me. Let me pull this out if I can do it without knocking a bunch of junk over, um, and see here. And you know what? I don't know what's out there trade wise. I don't really go to the bookstores anymore to check out that kind of stuff. I do when I'm there, but a lot of times it's just kind of manga is the big thing. So this is Kingdom Come. It is Alex Ross and it's Mark Waid. Love him or hate him, Mark Waid was a great writer of comics, and I love this opening page dedicated to Christopher Reeve. Um, there's a big glare on there. Sorry, believed a man could fly. I just let me find one of these pages that's just absolutely stunning. Again, this takes place in the future, and so you've got Superman as an old man, not as an older guy. I mean, look at that. Look at that. Would you just look at it? Look at it. And there's some fun Easter eggs here too. Alex Ross grew up on the Super Friends, and so there's some designs and stuff that you'll find very familiar if you ever watch the Super Friends cartoon. Um, but yeah, the price of admission, as far as your general DC superhero knowledge, is pretty high on this when it comes right down to it. And this influenced a lot of DC Comics later on down the road. Um, when when because they started saying, "Do we want that to be the future of the DC universe?" And they started to kind of go in that direction rather than it just being like an Elseworld story. So, um, I would check that out. Nice job grabbing that on the fly. I have in front of me that I can grab on the fly, and I have to move some stuff. But I've got the Marvel Encyclopedia. I've got a Fantastic Four hardback trade. I've got a Superman versus Lex Luthor little trade up here. Um, I've got an old Encyclopedia of Superheroes that was given to me back in like around 2001 for my birthday by a friend, um, who he'd had it for. I mean, it was older then, and so it's kind of a neat thing I've got, and I've got some Star Wars reference material up here as well. So, um, I I like to have things in my wheelhouse. There's a Batman '89 trade paperback as well. Yeah, that's true. And I can highly recommend Batman Resurrection by, I don't want to say it the wrong name. I want to say John Jackson Miller. Yeah, John Jackson Miller. It takes place between Batman and Batman Begins, and it is a really good story, and it was really well done. It kept the same feel of '89 Batman, um and just kind of added some depth and everything, so that like it really did a good job of like, where's Vicky Vale when we get to Batman Begins? Why isn't she around anymore? And it kind of gets in depth explaining that a little bit, but it also introduces a villain we never got to see in the Batman movies and in that universe. So I can recommend that. And there's a sequel to that coming out here pretty soon. I think, like Terminator: The Sarah Connor Chronicles did away with Terminator 3: The Rise of the Machines. Um, I think that Jackson Miller's books are kind of ignoring Batman Forever and Batman and Return, or Batman and Robin, maybe. I don't know though. Can't really speak for certain to that. So, yeah. So there you go, Sean. Thank you so much for the email. Great to hear from you, and I appreciate your. Listen, email us geekoutonline@gmail.com. Geekoutonline@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from everybody. So now here we go. Our good friend Brian Kent sent this in, and the subject line is a freaking zebra. And this is something that did not really, it kind of flew under my radar, but not quite. Of course, people sent it to me and said, please tell me you've seen this. Murfreesboro, Tennessee, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, wait a minute. By the way, this is what we call Animapocalypse news. What is this? Real quick here. There should be a Marvel and DC encyclopedias too. Just if you want to read up on, yeah, Marvel encyclopedias are great. Go to Adam Bray's website. Let me see what that actually is. Adam Bray. Maybe it's just adambray.com. Yeah, go to adambray.com and you can reach out to him and buy the Marvel encyclopedia directly, and he'll sign it. He was a contributor to the Marvel encyclopedia. So if you could send that to him, if you reach out to him, he will he can send that to you. Let me see here. Now he's got Amazon links, but I think he can sell them directly. Reach out to him at author Adam Bray on all the social media stuff and tell him I sent you to him. I don't get anything from that, but it would be, but it will help him out tremendously to purchase from him. The Marvel Encyclopedia is good stuff. So, all right. Well, this is what we call in the Geek Out Loud in the Golaverse. This is what we call an Animapocalypse story, ladies and gentlemen. They're trying to take over. It's the Animapocalypse. Here we go. Animapocalypse, go.
Everybody thinks they're cute. Everybody thinks they're nice. But behind their sleek facade, their blood's as cold as ice. They want to overthrow humanity with birds, moose, bears, and manatees. They want the world to be crushed in their grips. They want to start the Animapocalypse.
Animapocalypse news, everyone. Here we go. They are trying to take over the world, and they don't care who knows. It's the Animapocalypse, ladies and gentlemen. And I've been saying it. I've been trying to tell everybody you can't trust them. They don't love you. So, Murfreesboro, Tennessee, a runaway pet zebra that was on the loose for more than a week in Tennessee became an internet sensation in the process. Was captured Sunday, authorities said. So he was on the loose for more than a week. His name, Ed. The Cape for Ed. Ed the zebra was captured safely after being located in a pasture near a subdivision in the Christiana community in central Tennessee. The Rutherford County Sheriff's Office confirmed this. The sheriff's office said aviation crews captured the zebra. You know why? Because he was learning to fly. I'm learning to fly. Learning to fly, but I ain't got wings. Learning to fly. I've only got stripes. Only got stripes because I'm a freaking zebra. Ed was airlifted and flown by helicopter back to a waiting animal trailer. Videos posted by the sheriff's office show Ed wrapped in a net with his head sticking out, and this is quite the picture, ladies and gentlemen. Let's do this. Let's share the screen, everybody. Hey, everybody, going to share the screen. Here we go. And there it is. Look at there. I looked up overhead and it was a freaking zebra. Yeah, he was seen on the roadside and everything. And there they are, just flying them away. Wow. So anyway, yeah, how do they look? And this story is okay. Let's see here. The video posted by the sheriff's office. Okay, Ed arrived in Christiana on May 30th, the sheriff's office said. His owner reported him missing the next day. Dude had him a day. How about, I mean, like, that's some R2D2 C3PO mess right there, where like Luke cleans out R2 and he goes and has supper. And when he comes back, R2's gone, goes and just takes a moment to look at the sunset, and R2's gone when he comes back. Tragic. Tragic, tragic. Does the zebra have a cousin named Mr. Ed? No, he does not. He's named for Mr. Ed. The zebra was spotted and filmed running along I-24, forcing deputies to shut down the roadway, but Ed escaped into a wooded area. So he had him, and then the next day lost him. Don't have a zebra. If you can't keep a zebra, don't have a zebra. How about that? If you can't keep a zebra, I don't think that's bad advice. I think that's really good advice, and I think it branches out into all aspects of life. Ladies and gentlemen, if you can't keep a zebra, don't have a zebra. What's your zebra? My zebra may very well be podcasting. You can't, if you can't keep it, don't have it. There were several sightings posted to social media. Ed was filmed trotting through a neighborhood, and he quickly became the subject of internet memes, of course. One fake posting showed Ed dining at a Waffle House. Others had him visiting other Tennessee cities or panhandling on the side of the road. The pursuit of Ed came a month after a runaway kangaroo shut down a section of the alley. Why didn't I hear about the runaway kangaroo? Clicking that link, ladies and gentlemen. One moment, please. Look, if you can't keep a kangaroo, don't have a kangaroo. Runaway kangaroo on the lease named Sheila shuts down the Alabama interstate. And there it is, running on the interstate. I'll share. I'm not scared to share the screen. I'll share it. There it is. Look at that. Look at that little guy or girl. I guess since it's Sheila, it's a girl running down the interstate there. Goodness gracious. I don't guess she's running down the interstate. Let's see what the story says here. Tuskegee, Alabama. A runaway kangaroo named Sheila shut down a stretch of the interstate in Alabama on Tuesday. This was back in April, before state troopers and the animal's owners wrangled the wayward marsupial. The Alabama law enforcement agency said the kangaroo was spotted Tuesday hopping along the side of I-85 in Macon County, which is between Montgomery and Auburn. The sight snarled traffic. The state troopers shut down both sides of the interstate for the safety of motorists. The animal's owner and troopers were able to capture it. Captain Jeremy J. Burkett of the Alabama Law Enforcement Agency said, "When somebody said there was a kangaroo, of course, I didn't believe it, and nobody believed it, but I'm looking at him." Macon County Sheriff Andre Brunson said in a Facebook Live video as the animal was captured. The owner used a dart to tranquilize the animal. Brunson's video showed the drugged kangaroo being carried to a vehicle and returned to its home. The animal was captured on the side of the interstate between Tuskegee and Auburn, the sheriff said. "We see a little bit of everything here," said the sheriff. The animal's owner, Patrick Starr, told the Associated Press the animal's name is Sheila, and she escaped her enclosure. Goodness gracious. Ads. And she escaped from her enclosure. She's back home and safe. She's up. She's not sedated anymore. She's eating. She's drinking. So she's not drugged anymore, but she's drinking. Just like you. That's what you'd expect out of an Alabama kangaroo. Southern Fried Film. The kangaroo was treated by Auburn University College of Veterinary Medicine. The family runs a pumpkin patch and petting zoo, but Sheila is just a personal pet. Sheila is just a personal pet. Yeah, we run a petting zoo, but she's just our pet. We wanted a kangaroo, and so we've got a kangaroo. Now, we can't keep the kangaroo, but we have one. She's a sweet pet, and I'm glad she's back home, and I'm glad everybody slowed down a little bit. Austin Price, who took a video of the animal hopping down the interstate, said he had to briefly question if he was seeing things. "I hear my grandmother yell, 'Is that a kangaroo?' And he assumed it was probably a deer until he looked and said, 'Yeah, it's a kangaroo.'" It's a personal pet, ladies and gentlemen. Now, I need to come back to the zebra situation, because the one thing this story doesn't tell us is, how did the zebra go from trotting along in the woods over a week to somehow being wrapped up in some manner of net and airlifted to the trailer? How did that happen? What was the process whereupon that went on? They don't tell you that. Like, I need to know. I've got to know, how did this go on? Let's see. I'm just gonna zebra owner interview. Let's just see if maybe, just maybe. Just maybe there's some kind of interview. There's a lot of shorts. The search still on. Okay, I don't see anything other than just the stuff. It's just there. Why is no one saying, "Hey, how did we get this zebra in a position to be airlifted?" Why does no one say that? Why does no one ask that question? What was the process by which the zebra's trotting along and now it's just sitting in a net like, I'm flying? Tendon says the helicopter dropped a net with a carrot attached. Easy enough. I don't believe it. I don't believe it. That word was ads. Yes, I said stupid ads. That word was ads, ADS. Now, obviously, long-time Golaverse listeners, Big Honkin' Show listeners, remember what was spoken, the iconic words spoken in Atlanta, Georgia, when a zebra escaped from the circus. And I believe the young man's name was Daniel, who said, "I turned around and looked, and it was a freaking zebra running down the road." And of course, that spurred on, various and sundry things, particularly a great ad that was put together by our good friend Jimmy in Georgia. And I don't know that we can play the ad, but let's try it. What's going to happen? I'll just have to remove it, from the thing. So let me see here. Boom, the freaking zebra whisperer. Easy. That's who they need to call in, was the zebra whisperer. Easy, buddy. Easy. Hey, man. Hey, zebra. It's cool, bro. Be cool. Be cool, zebra. Be cool. This from Jimmy in Georgia.
Steve Glosson is not an accredited zoologist. He is simply an enthusiastic young man with an abiding love for all of God's creatures. Share his love this morning on the Big Honkin' Show.
All of a sudden, a freaking zebra comes running down the street like a car. I would have tried to hug him.
Yeah.
I would have been like, "Come here, zebra.
Come here.
We must study him."
He's a zebra whisperer.
Easy. So here's what's happening. The zebra is just trying to get back to its natural habitat, the interstate. Me gustan mucho los animales.
I can play that ad. I can't. Well, I don't know that they'll pick up the music on that ad. The Grand ad, which is so great, has a song that they capture that YouTube picks up on it. I don't know that one will. Now listen, what you heard there was a young Steve who did not realize what the animals were doing yet. That would come some years later, when we began to see all the animals invading homes and stores and stuff. So that was back when I thought the animals were all right. Thank you, Jimmy. I would not ask you to go through all that trouble, sir. I would rather fight with YouTube over the situation. But that's nice. Fish Music checking in. Hey, Fish Music. Can't you isolate the voiceover and rescue it from the music? Rescue me. Now listen, I just absolutely dropped a banger of a song in your head that none of you know, and I'm okay with that. Was that Jeff Moore in the distance? I don't know. Listen, I have derailed myself. So let me bring up the derail. I've derailed myself. I totally went off the rails. But that's Brian. Thank you for sending that. I had seen an image about something with that, but I did not know the full story. I need to know. And you know what? If I were any type of decent podcaster, I would have set up an interview with the good people in Tennessee to say, explain to me the process of snagging a zebra in a net and aviating it over to the horse trailer you're putting it in. That's what I would say. And then to the person who got it, I would say, well done. I mean, that's one heck of a claw game, is what that is. Lower it down, pick up the zebra. Here we go. So anyway, you can email the show. We'd love to hear from all of you. And emails are very important to us. They've always been important to us. geekoutonline@gmail.com. geekoutonline@gmail.com. A long time ago, when I set up the email, why didn't I do geekoutloud@gmail.com? I don't know. Is it available? I don't think so. Is there any point in changing at this point? No. geekoutonline@gmail.com. geekoutonline@gmail.com. Would love to hear from you over there. And now I'm curious. I probably look, geekoutloud.com was taken when I started this show some 18 years ago. So I'm sure that geekoutloud@gmail.com is taken. How do I can't just, can I create an account? Let's find out. I'm trying to create a new email right now, ladies and gentlemen. When was I born? January 25th. That's when I was born. Why is it asking? It doesn't matter what my gender is. Okay. Let's see. I'm sorry, everybody. Loud Geek Out Loud. Create your own Gmail address. Let's find out. geekoutloud@gmail.com. Here we go. It's taken. All right. That's why I don't have it, because it's taken. So geekoutonline@gmail.com. geekoutonline@gmail.com. What about the comment about space stations or dioramas? Thank you so much. Art with Jimmy in Georgia. Thank you so much. Jeff Moore in the Distance is the name of a band I haven't heard in 25 years. That means, well, Angie, I'll tell you this. I don't know that I've thought about Jeff Moore in the Distance since their home run tour back in the late 90s, mid 90s. So it's been about 30 years to me. What a band. Oh, rescue me. All right, let's find that comment. There it is. Have you seen on YouTube or Instagram all the quote unquote world builders building space stations, dioramas, or just dioramas for their action figures? Absolutely, yes, I have. And I will give a couple of shout outs right now. First and foremost, I will give a shout out to Cardboard Galaxy. Cardboard Galaxy does a lot of really, really good stuff. It really feels like old Kenner kind of stuff that is done over there. I'm Real Geek Out Loud on Instagram, by the way. You can follow at Real Geek Out Loud on Instagram. Every now and again, I'll just post some bad pictures of toys. And by bad, I mean not really well photographed. What have I done recently? Nothing that I know of. Bama Freddy, which is actually spelled BAMAFREDE. Check him out. He's got a lot of cool things. I got to see some of his stuff up close and personal at Toylanta, and man, he does a really good job. I'm going to pull up some of this stuff and just kind of let me see if I can share this with everybody. Give me just a second. Give me just a little more time. Okay, so this is Bama Freddy. And you can see the kind of stuff he does here. These are like castle walls that and this is a work in progress for him. just really, really cool, great stuff. I'm hoping, Lord willing, I can get over um, to July to Gadsden, to the Gadsden CollectorCon in July. But this is the kind of stuff he does. It's a mixture of like foam, and there's a little bit of wood and stuff in there as well. But most of what you see here is just foam. It is like the foam board stuff. And I'm telling you, to see it up close and personal, and he sells these, and it's great work. It really is great work, and you can see some of his collecting and stuff going on, and action figure photography as well. Then, as I said, Cardboard Galaxy. Let me see if I've got Cardboard Galaxy here on the Instagram. I know he sells stuff on eBay a lot, and this is one of his newer things here. Well, let me do this. The Home One diorama is new. Now that's all cardboard. This really is like an old school kind of Kenner Playground kind of thing. Golly, man, it's pop-up type stuff. He's got Tron stuff, as you can see there. There's just some street stuff, Death Star dioramas. Man, I missed some of that stuff. Anyway, just some really cool stuff that he's got, and I should find his eBay as well to see what he's got over there. And is selling right now. But yeah, I actually here's what I do when it comes to my hobbies. I think I'm going to be more into a hobby than I am, and I end up going like whole hog into it, and getting everything I think I need. And so when I started getting really interested in maybe trying to do like some photography, I was inspired initially when it comes to action figure photography by Father's Figures on Instagram. Father's Figures just does great. He's got the thing that makes his stuff so good is he's just got a great imagination for it. His name's David Valdez, and he's reached out before. He listens to the show, and I didn't realize that he knew the show until he actually emailed me, and I thought it was so cool that I got to hear from him. This is how cool this is how cool it is. Look at this stuff right here. This is he did this in the snow. It's a snow tunnel, and I don't know if these are full size. I think they may be like Hot Wheels size. It doesn't matter. It's amazing. This is an amazing piece of photography here. Look at that Iron Giant with a little Superman. That's fantastic. This is the kind of, like, it's just what an imagination this dude has, man. And it's just like, and so that informs his photography and stuff. And he uses a lot of neat things to scale. Like, look at that. Now, I think there may be a little bit of Photoshop involved. I'm not sure. Don't hold me to that. I don't want to offend him by saying there may be. But like, he went out, got a picture of the bridge. Like, none of this is AI. This is all him and his work. And it's just, he goes to these different environments and he makes things happen with them. It's just fantastic. And so I was just kind of inspired by him and decided, I'd like to try my hand at some of this stuff. And then there is a YouTuber named Just Jay Hernandez. He doesn't have a clue who I am. But I stumbled into a YouTube video by him a while back, and he was doing some incredible things posing action figures. And then I was like, okay, I see what you're doing. Can I do that? Am I able to do that type of work? And I started working with some stuff and everything, just trying to. I really saw through what he was doing, what these hyper articulated, like Marvel Legends and stuff, could really be and do, and the personality you could bring to them with some poses and everything. But he does some ridiculous stuff, like as far as like balancing and everything goes with his action figures and all, and it's just it's some crazy stuff. And a lot of his stuff is just like, look at this. look at Mando just coming at you. I mean, that kind of deal is just so cool to me. And that got me thinking, what can I do with the action figures that I collect to just kind of take them from just standing in a neutral pose on a shelf and really bring them to life. And what you find out is, ladies and gentlemen, and as I'm just continuing to scroll through this, what you discover is you're really playing with toys when you start doing this stuff, and the hobby becomes that much more fun again when you're posing these things, and you call it posing and action figure photography, but you're playing with toys, and it's a good time. So yeah, I have seen those things, and let me go back to what I was saying. So when I kind of buy into a hobby and stuff, when I thought about photography, I knew I couldn't buy a camera, but I've also seen some people do some amazing things with Photoshop and iPhones, and that's kind of what I've done with my stuff. Um, which is mediocre. I mean, there's a reason it's called mediocre action figure photography, because my stuff is mediocre, and I'm okay with that. I'm not dogging myself or saying that I'm no good at anything. I'm just saying that's kind of my jam. So, and if I may, just here at Real Geek Out Loud, this is something I did the other day. I stopped sharing and I brought that up. Um, let me finish my thought. Let me just stop being a fool and finish my thought. So I looked into doing some of those dioramas and stuff, and I really thought I was going to try to do some of that, and I just haven't. I don't have the workspace or really the talent to be able to do that. But this is what I did. This is the Beyonder action figure from the Secret Wars retro line. He's got that whole Michael Jackson vibe going and everything, and so this is supposed to be the Thriller pose. It's the best I could get him in doing the Thriller pose. Um, and let's see, is there anything else on here that I'm particularly happy with? Um, I like this shot. This is a neat shot. It's just Thor with a little light under him, and he looks awesome, dude. I mean, I was really kind of happy with that shot. What else have we got here? A lot of promotion for my other stuff. This guy, this is Speedball, and the things that are around him there are from a guy named Can of Beams, and he sells a lot of cool effects and stands and a lot of add-ons for your action figure collecting and that sort of thing. And so I dig that. Let's see what else we've got here. Nothing really good here anymore. These are just like, hey, we're standing here looking at you kind of poses. Okay, see, I've got Wolverine coming at you there. Like the whole idea of a running pose that came from like looking at Just Jay Hernandez and what he does. And then you've got like Hammerhead, not my favorite, but look at him. Like it looks like he's kind of straightening his tie, getting ready to take a punch, and now he's running at you with that head down like Hammerhead does, and that kind of thing. So I'm not good at this, but it's just like I would have never done anything like this had it not been for running up into the Just Jay stuff. Now this was one I was happy with this guy because this Hercules, I put him into the Hulk Hogan poses. So that was kind of my deal. And I probably have some stuff over on the Steve Glosson side of things too, but Real Geek Out Loud is where I post most stuff that's going to have pertain to the podcast or anything like that. So if you want to follow me on Instagram, I welcome you to do so. We'd love to have you over there on the Instagram. So check us out there. But anyhow, I say all that to say, yes, I wish I could make those dioramas. I actually, there was one. There was one. Oh, look at this. We had Cardboard Galaxy on a Star Wars podcast. Found out he's based 10 miles from me. Wow, that's cool. All right, I've gotten lost in the chat, and I don't need to do that. I was at Toylanta, and I'd seen where Bama Freddy was going to be there, and he had a piece that I wanted to purchase from him, but by the time I got there, it was gone. That's why I'm hoping to be able to go to Gadsden and see what he's bringing there, because I really would like one of those pieces just to kind of add to the kind of stuff that I'm doing, because I'll put a background on a I'll Photoshop an action figure into a background in a heartbeat, because that's just, it's some fun stuff and I enjoy doing that. Um but yeah, the dioramas and stuff, they're a game changer. I mean, they're absolutely a game changer with displays, with with photography and everything else. Absolute game changer. I guess I should have played this before we jumped into that discussion, though. Um, do I have it? Is it still? Did I never do this last time? Did I not do a grown man talking toys theme? I didn't have. Oh, there it is. Toy talk.
Talking toys. It's a grown man talk about toys. So let's talk about toys.
There you go. That's what I should have played there. Um. Anyway, having now gotten to that, let's move forward. Anyone else I forgot? Did I miss anything else before we get going? Um. Okay. Good. Great. Well, I don't know how to transition out of that stupid children's theme into what I really want to talk about. There are a lot of things I want to kind of chat about, but what I really want to talk about is Peter David. Peter David passed away a couple of weeks ago, and Peter David is he he in so many ways defines uh comic book writing, for me, and in my opinion. Peter David was was the the writer who stood out as a writer among artists. And when Peter David was doing his stuff, it was during a time when the artist had kind of taken front and center. Todd McFarlane was kind of on the point. He was kind of the tip of the spear with that. Rob Liefeld, Jim Lee, those guys really drove an artist slash creator kind of medium into comics, as far as where they started their own line that was creator owned, which is great. I mean, on for the Eric Larson's a part of that. For those guys, and for people who want to make money off of what they create and not just do work for hire, it's wonderful. It's great. And in those days, in the 90s, it really was about the art and the look and the feel. And if you had the Punisher or Wolverine, or Spider-Man or an X-Man, or any, basically, the X-Men in your comic book in those days, Peter David stood out from all of that as just a consistently good writer with good ideas. You can wiki him to get his history and everything, and I really did think that what I was going to do was sit here and kind of go through his career as a writer and everything. But I will tell you that it's no secret for me, Peter David's 13-year run on the Incredible Hulk it's unheard of anymore in comics. I mean, that's something that really wasn't done since the days of a Stan Lee and Jack Kirby. Like, he really didn't just put his fingerprint on the Incredible Hulk. He absolutely shaped how people would deal with the Incredible Hulk for years to come. And he did it based on Incredible Hulk issue 312. Like, that's what it really spun out of. Now, let me say this: Peter David didn't just work on the Incredible Hulk. Obviously, he did Star Trek novels. He did Supergirl back in the 90s, and it was a good title. Supergirl was a strong title under his watch care, under his direction and writing. Aquaman was absolutely revitalized because of what Peter David did with the character. When you look at the 90s and see Aquaman with that harpoon on his hand, that's Peter David. And the grown out hair and beard, that's Peter David. Peter David established the canon and the history of Atlantis in the DC universe for years, based on his work that he did before he came on to Aquaman full time. It really is this incredible. He made Aquaman more than a joke, he really did. And then of course he did some work in Spectacular Spider-Man before he was on the Hulk, and that's where you get your Sin Eater storyline, the death of Jean DeWolf, and that sort of thing. He had a Peter David had a very Stan Lee idea of these characters, and I don't mean to water down what he did or elevate Stan Lee's writings. What I mean is when Stan Lee started writing superheroes, he didn't just want them all to sound the same and have different powers. He didn't want them all to have the same voice with different powers. He wrote the Fantastic Four to be a family that would have family issues and have things that went on. They wrote about love, they being he and Kirby and Ditko and all of the folks that worked back then wrote stories that would love and heartbreak and family and personal responsibility outside of superheroing and all this other stuff to get into the mind and the character of the superhero. Well, frankly, for a long time leading up to Peter David's run, the Hulk had become the big green brute who, look, I enjoy his stories, Hulk smash, Hulk just leave Hulk alone, all this stuff. I enjoy the big fights with superheroes, but what made Hulk interesting a lot of times was his supporting cast. It was what was going on around him and what was happening with Bruce Banner. The Hulk as a character was kind of like people were. I don't want to say he'd become a joke. I never want to say that about the Hulk. The Hulk was a moneymaker for Marvel because of the television series. But once that goes away, what then? And they tried some neat things with the Hulk. I mentioned previously there was a period of time where Bruce Banner had controlled the mind and body of the Hulk. This is not Professor Hulk. Don't get that twisted. This is the Hulk smash Hulk, but Bruce maintained control at all times of the body, and he would change to Human Banner and to Hulk at will. And that's the Hulk who ends up in the Secret Wars. And we begin to see just prior to that and after that, we see him start to lose control of the Hulk. So that by the time you get to issue 300, he has completely lost control. And there's a battle, and the Hulk gets sent away to a dimension called the Crossroads of Infinity, with the idea being, and it's very Planet Hulkish, the idea is the Hulk can find somewhere that he fits in and won't be destructive and can't cause any problems. What does all this have to do with Peter David? I'm getting there. Issue 312 of The Incredible Hulk is listed as a Secret Wars 2 crossover. By this time, Secret Wars 2 was happening, and so the reason it's a crossover is because the Beyonder finds the Hulk in the Crossroads of Infinity and opens the way for him to come home. But what happens in that book is we are made privy to Bruce Banner's life prior to being the big scientist. And some of this had been explored earlier, and that's why you have the character of Doc Samson and everything else. We saw that Bruce had kind of a rough childhood, but here it is expounded on much more, right down to the abuse of his father and everything. And so it causes in him a bit of a psychotic break. And so Bruce Banner was going to, when we get to Peter David's run, Peter David was so taken with that take on Bruce Banner and the Hulk that's where he wanted to go. And he began to explore the idea of like a multiple personality disorder kind of thing with the Hulk. He was handed the Hulk having just reverted to being gray. Now, I say reverted because one of the worst kept secrets in comic history is the Hulk was originally gray. And by originally, I mean in issue number 1. By the time they printed issue number 1 and it went out, gray just wasn't working on the page. They couldn't get the gray to print right consistently. And so Stan Lee said, well, what color will? And they said, green. He said, all right, make him green. He didn't want to do red because they already had a red superhero. They had Spider-Man. And so he did Green Hulk. And honestly, I did not know that at all until Hulk 323, I believe is when it was. When the Gray Hulk returned, and then it became this common knowledge. Well, he was gray first, blah blah blah. Yeah, it's 324. I'm sorry, he's gray first, blah blah blah. Yaggity schmaggity, blah blah. And no, I didn't know that because every reprint of Hulk #1 that I'd ever read, he was green, like they'd recolored him green for the reprints and stuff, and had tried to undo that. But now he's back, he's gray, and so you end up with a Hulk that turns into Hulk at night, and he's Bruce Banner during the day. And Peter David is dealing with this story, and he brings in the leader. He brings in stuff the leader does that is just heinous, as far as reviving General Ross to be kind of a supervillain. You end up with you end up beginning to explore the psyche of Bruce Banner and the Hulk. And then there's this gamma explosion that is thought to leave them both dead. And the Hulk stays in control in the day and the night. And what does the Hulk do? He goes to Vegas and he becomes a leg breaker, Joe Fixit. And everyone thinks they love Joe Fixit. But they don't know the full story of Joe Fixit a lot of times. They just think it's really cool that the Hulk's in a suit and he's a Vegas leg breaker. But during that time, because these superheroes, these super types invite trouble, all this trouble starts coming to Vegas, and his boss, Michael Berengetti, says, I got to let you go. And he totally gets it. He's mad, but he leaves. But meanwhile, he's struggling with Banner trying to come back out. And eventually Banner's back out in the day, and he's Hulk at night. He's Banner at day, he's Hulk at night. And in all of this stuff that goes on, and all this is Peter David. Now we're in the Peter David era. And we've got Peter David writing this Gray Hulk for, it's 41 issues worth. If you go through, Peter David did 328, but that was a side story breaking up what was happening with some stuff in the main storyline. And then he took over full time on Hulk 330. And so from Hulk 330 to Hulk 371. It was Gray Hulk. Smart Gray Hulk, maybe it's 370. I'm sorry, y'all. I want to be right. I want to be correct in what I'm telling you here. He's writing the Gray Hulk, who's smart, who's quippy, who's all these different things. Come on now. Maybe it was 372. Maybe I just didn't see the right thing. Look, the point is this. In Hulk 372 or 371 or 370, something like that, gee whiz, the Green Hulk returns. It's 372. I was right from the get-go. The Green Hulk returns. And the Green Hulk returns in just this amazing way where Bruce has this weird scar down his back. And he gets so angry that over something to do with Betty, because he and Betty have not been together for a long time now. And he's been tracking her down, and he finally finds her, but just before he finds her, she's gone. And he gets angry, and that scar rips open, and Green Hulk comes out. And I don't mean like smart Green Hulk. I mean like Hulk smash, angry Green Hulk. And it is like, oh my gosh. And then we are treated to this amazing thing where the Gray Hulk is in Banner's mind, like, why would he let him out? Why would he let him out? But they have to do this thing where they shut the Green Hulk behind a door in Banner's mind. And now the Gray Hulk and Betty are back on some adventures and everything for a little bit. Things are starting to settle down. They find Rick and Marlo, and everything seems to be okay. And then Hulk 377 or Hulk 376 is an iconic cover. And on the cover of the Hulk, you've got the Gray Hulk and the Green Hulk fighting each other with Bruce Banner freaking out in the background. And it's Del Keown, so it's classic Del Keown artwork. These two are fighting, and Bruce. What happens is the whole story opens with Bruce and the Gray Hulk in Bruce's mind at the door that they put the Green Hulk behind, getting ready to go in and take him out. And Bruce tricks Gray Hulk into going behind there, and he shuts him out. And he says, "I think I'm done. I think this is over." And so what we've this whole time, and this is like 40 something issues now, 45, 46 issues. So you're talking about 4 years worth of time where Peter David has been leading up to this moment in a lot of ways. And he's been exploring the idea of the Hulk and Banner knowing they have to coexist. It's not just a physical thing, it is a psychological thing. And while Bruce is having breakfast, both of them break out of that mental door, the Green and the Gray. And now Bruce is this thing where he's part Bruce, he's part Gray Hulk, he's part Green Hulk, and he's pulling a liar, and he's kicking his own butt. And so then you have a whole situation where Doc Samson comes in. They bring in the Ringmaster so he can do super hypnosis. And basically, you've got Hulk 377, where it's a classic cover. It's all green except for like the Hulk's in shadow, and he seems to be like in some kind of pain, or he's hulking out on the cover. And the whole issue is a trip into the psyche of Bruce Banner. And we've done this a few times, not just in issue 312, but with Leonard Sampson and some other things. We've done this a few times. And ultimately, he has to come to peace with his trauma. He has to come to peace with himself and with the Hulks, and they all have to come to peace together, and they merge into one personality. And as that happens, the physical aspect of Bruce changes into a big green, incredibly intelligent, incredibly smart alecky, new Incredible Hulk. And he is, for the longest time, he was called the Amalgamated Hulk. Like that's what they called him. And then later on, people started calling him Professor Hulk. So there's a story break in 378. It's like a Christmas story with the Gray Hulk versus the Rhino, and it's kind of like it's almost a neat farewell to the Gray Hulk, and it's a fun little Christmas story. And then we're back into this new Hulk, and in issue 378, and we really get to see his personality begin to come out and everything. And that leads us into a whole adventure with him over the course of the next several years as this character. So he's not just Hulk Smash, and he's not just some bitter old Gray Hulk. He is this character with personality like we've never known. He's got his life, he's got his wife, he's got his friends. There's a whole team of people that he's with now called Prometheus or the Pantheon, and it's this neat take on the Hulk like we've never had. And then, but Peter David continued to tweak and continued to work with it, and then things begin to fall apart, as they do in the Hulk's life. Things begin to fall apart, and then you had the whole Heroes Reborn thing, and the Hulk gets split into two, and one's in one universe, and the other part of it is in this universe. Peter David introduced us to the Thunderbolts in the pages of the Incredible Hulk. You have the whole Apocalypse thing for a while. There's all kinds of stuff that goes on during Peter David's run that's leading to, in a lot of ways, the Future Imperfect stuff that he does, the story Future Imperfect about the Maestro in the future, and that's basically the Hulk taking over the world. And present day Hulk has to go back. So there's all this stuff that's happening and all this stuff that's going on. And it's this just great adventure and intriguing thing. And then we get back into the psyche of the Hulk. He's broken again. He's, and then Marvel wanted to do a crossover of some sort. And Peter David said, no, I'm not going to do that. And I don't think it was even what they wanted to do with the Hulk. They wanted his stuff to infringe on the writings of someone else. And he said no, and he stepped down from doing the Incredible Hulk. One of the last things he did in the pages of the Incredible Hulk was kill Betty Banner with gamma poisoning, of all things. And it was out of nowhere. Like, it was that moment where everything was going just right. It is classic Hulk. Everything's going just right, and then it all falls apart. And what I consider to be his swan song in The Incredible Hulk is is an issue where it's basically an old Rick Jones talking to apparently who we think is Peter Parker. Um, or I think it's Peter Parker based on he's from the Bugle and everything. It just seems like, I mean, it seems like they're making it seem that way. But it's this great recap of everything that went on and how she died and then what happened in the aftermath and really the breaking of Bruce Banner in a lot of ways. And it's sad, man. It was really sad, and it was sad to see Peter David go because he had been on that, as I said, that title he'd been on for gee whiz 40, 40, I mean 13 years or so, and it was real kind of sad to see. And I remember when it came to an end, and I remember where I was when I bought that issue, when I read that issue, and just what I thought about it and what I thought about Peter David leaving the title altogether. And it was sad, man. It was sad to see him go because he had made such a huge impact on the character and it being one of my favorite characters. Um, it was just a ride I hated to see come to an end. I'm trying to find the exact issue because I don't know it off the top of my head. Um, but I know as you get past the hero's return stuff, it gets very close to this is it. Um, oh yeah, they did the flashback stuff and everything. I'm sorry, I'm trying to find it. I know I'm getting close to where it was. Gee whiz. Um, it but Peter David he was a prolific writer, and he also did like novelizations of movies and stuff. He was tapped to write the novelization of um the Hulk, Ang Lee's Hulk movie, and I remember laying in the floor reading that novelization, excited about what was coming up, with that movie. That was a movie I was excited about because that was the Hulk. I was all about, the Incredible Hulk, and so I was excited about him coming to comics and everything, or coming to the movie screen during those early 2000s when everything was, new and fresh, and all the superhero movies were starting to really be major. All right, see, I went too far into the future now with it. Um, I have stopped talking because I'm looking. Did someone put it in the chat? No, they haven't yet. There it is. It's Hulk 3. It's Hulk 466, I believe. Yeah. Hulk 466 and 467, I think, is Peter David's last issue. Yeah, and there's this great conversation with Bruce and Rick where he says, do you remember what you were playing when I saved you on that? Because the whole Rick Jones is an incredible character. And Tintin says, I'm a huge Rick Jones fan. What are your thoughts on Rick Jones? Rick Jones is one of the greatest, most tragic characters in Marvel Comics. He's just a punk kid who's, basically taking a dare from his buddies to sneak into an army firing range, test firing range, and just sit there, and they see him, and Bruce saves him from being blown up by that gamma bomb, and that's what causes Bruce to become the Hulk. Well, Rick carries this guilt with him all these years over that because, who wouldn't? He caused this guy to become a monster, and it kills him. So he um he becomes so loyal to Bruce and to the Hulk, and then later on he's a sidekick to Captain America. He's sidekick's kind of the wrong word, but he's partners with Marvel. Captain Marvel. He's kind of the carrier. He is the body for Marvel. To be able to come out of the whatever negative zone he's in or whatever. And then with Peter David stuff, Rick he was great. He was comic relief, but there was always that loyalty. There was always that friendship. And yeah, just tragic, because as Bruce began to lose him, well, when the part of Bruce was gone, there's this moment where he smacks Rick and injures Rick permanently, permanently. And now I know Rick's become like A-bomb and all this, and I think he's dead now, which is just terrible. And then what they did with him in Immortal Hulk was weird and sad. And but in Incredible Hulk 467 is really Peter David's swan song, and he did come back. He came back for a short run, and it wasn't the same. It wasn't the same as it had been, and it's just unfortunate. He left on principle, as I recall, and that was kind of his deal. I think that people who knew him knew he could be a little bit icy, a little bit frosty. And I never met him. Anytime I heard him talk about storytelling or writing comics, he was very, very dry, and very, very straightforward about his thoughts and everything else. He was, he knew who he was, and he knew where his talents lay, and he was not ashamed of that or afraid to talk about it, and that's fine. That's fine. We probably would have differed on our opinions on a lot of things in life and all, but again, that's not what it's about. It's about this man made an impact in comics from a writing perspective that you wouldn't see. I mean, like, he's up there with the Mark Wades, with the Jeff Loebs, I will say he's up there in as far as writers go, in my estimation. I don't know how much better it gets when it comes to comic book writing. I don't know. I think that he had an understanding of how to make characters interesting who might not be very interesting. I think he had an understanding of how to craft a story that would not only grab you, but would sometimes surprise you. He was not scared. He was not scared of injecting humor into his stories. He was not scared of taking you in places that you didn't expect without ruining the story. See, there's something in comics where you have to keep the status quo, because if you don't, and you fundamentally change everything about what's going on, you're no longer writing the story. You're no longer writing the characters of the comics that you once were. And Peter David changed the status quo without really changing the status quo. The Hulk was never, even in his smart Hulk days, was never, and I mean like what people have come to call Professor Hulk, even in those days, he was never what you would say on the right side of the law. He was still that anti-hero, and he was still dealing with the anger, and he was still, in fact, he put mental locks on himself that if he ever became too angry, he would turn back into Banner, into his human form of Banner, and that would be the mindless kind of Hulk in Banner's body. And so he still dealt with those things, and so he was still kind of an anti-hero, even at his best, most complete self. And so the status quo with the Hulk never changed, and the status quo with Supergirl during the 90s never changed, though he made that character something interesting and something unique. Same thing with Aquaman. The look changed and the circumstances changed, but he didn't set out to fundamentally alter the reality of the universe in which he was writing. He set out to write good stories. And I think that's the best thing you can say about any writer. They just set out to write good stories. And he did well. And he asserted his various views on certain things in life into the comics, and he did it without taking away from everything that had come before. He did it without making things too preachy for one message or another. He did it without you feeling like I'm having things shoved down my throat. And so, um, and when a character died, he meant for that character to be dead. Or when there was something that the character of Marlowe, who we met in Vegas when Hulk was Joe Fixit, becomes eventually the wife of Rick Jones, and she dies, and the leader has this whole commune, science fiction-y commune where he brings those who have died in a way back to life, but they're kind of like mindless automatons is really kind of the wrong way to say it. And well, they were. General Ross was, but then I think he figured out a way to do it, and it would work. But it gets messed up in the middle of things because the Hulk can't accept that the leader's actually doing something worthwhile. Um, and while Marlowe's in the chamber, it doesn't go all the way, and she comes out basically a mindless vegetable. But Rick's like, "I love you, and I'll take care of you, and we'll get this fixed." And so you see this character who goes from just being a dude on a jalopy out in the desert playing the harmonica to a kind of a guy that loves his rock and roll, and to being this guy who just loves his wife no matter what. And so yeah, we see things change and we see characters go through things, but it never was like, no, you'll never look at this the same again until the Betty thing. And Peter David had said it was his intention that Betty be dead for good. And in comics, that's unheard of. There's really only 2 deaths in comics that have stuck that I can think of, or 3. That's Bruce Wayne's parents, Uncle Ben, and Marvel, the original Marvel, Captain Marvel. Those are really the only 3 deaths I can think of that have really truly stuck in comics. Because they're ultimately soap operas when it's all said and done. So to put Betty in that camp, I don't know how long Peter David would have continued to go on with the Hulk had he not been put in the situation he was, but I know that what his intention was would have rocked, Bruce Banner to his core. It did. And to kind of see where he would have gone with that and to see if Bruce could have pulled out of the darkness would have been interesting. So I say all that to say, what a great writer. Comic book fans are lucky that we had a writer like Peter David to read his works. I know many of you are Star Trek fans, and he wrote a lot he wrote a lot of Star Trek. And so I know that that's in our community, but he was great, and I was really saddened to hear of his passing. And I know that he has friends and loved ones who are sadder than I am, and who their world is a dimmer place now because his light is not in it. And I hate that for them, and I hate that for the friends and family that he had. There's been a lot said about his financial situation, and that leads into a whole conversation about comic creators and these creative types, and though they may be successful when they're doing the work for hire stuff, what it really ends up being for them in the long run, and just how little they actually make out of what they're doing, and you don't want that, but at the same time, you look at someone like, you look at these other guys who tried to figure, who made their own thing and made their own way, and is that stuff still around? Some of it, um I it's a mar on a, an otherwise great career, that he had those issues, and he had those, and that he was without proper insurance and everything, and uh, you know that's terrible. I hate that. And you want these companies that if you're working for them, even if you're just doing works for hire, to not treat these people just like contractors. Let them be employees, give them benefits, help them out, especially when you're now talking about industries that are backed by the money of Warner Brothers and the money of Disney. Like, you can give these creators the benefits they need. And there's talk about certain characters that won't ever show up in a movie or as a toy because they'd have to pay royalties, to their creators. And it's like, come on, man, like, you can do that. and you can make your fans happy, and you can make the creators a little bit of money that they need for doing this. Um, and it's sad because we see it with so many. Bill Finger, the co-creator of Batman, the Schusters, the Siegels, the creators of Superman. You know, uh, Unfortunately, you learn that this industry is, the comic book industry is not as friendly to the creators as we hope they will be, and so support them. If you want to get an autograph and a picture and everything, pay the fee at a convention, because a lot of times that's how these guys are making their money. If there's stuff you can buy directly from them, prints or um or commissions, for the artist or whatever, do it, and support them, and do that, so that that's the most we can do. But Peter David was a great writer, and Peter David, it rescued the Hulk from mediocrity in a lot of ways. And so, because the Hulk's one of my favorite superheroes, before I ever read a Peter David written comic book, all I can say is thank you for taking care of one of my favorites, and thank you for being a great writer in a time of great artists. And he will be missed in a big bad way. So I wanted to talk about that, and like I say, I didn't want to just do the Wikipedia of Peter David like I knew his career inside and out, because I didn't. I was most familiar with him and his Hulk run, and I followed him, afterwards with some different things here and there, and just kind of kept my eye on where he was going and what he was doing, because he's Peter David, and because I loved what he did with the Hulk, I was interested in what he would do with other things. And I will do this just because I do want to pay tribute to the man's full work. The 12-13 year run on the Incredible Hulk was absolutely just, you know, bonkers and unheard of. Um he he worked in the new universe, in Marvel's new universe, for a little bit. He did a run on Wolverine, X Factor. I'm not a big X guy, but X Factor was huge. Spider-Man 2099 was his, and like that early Spider-Man 2099 stuff is really good. It's not bad at all. It was new and fresh and different, and in a lot of ways prescient, about the things that would come on down the road. But I mentioned the Aquaman thing. I mentioned the Star Trek stuff. He did the Star Trek comic. He co-wrote the DC and versus Marvel crossover they did in the mid '90s with Ron Mars. Young Justice. Uh, you know he was he was there. Let's see, Heroes Reborn, The Return, um, and Captain Marvel, like the son of Captain Marvel, Janice Vale. Um, Again, with Rick Jones in tow in that particular comic. It was in the early 2000s, and he did that. I bought some of those because it was Peter David, and he was doing Captain Marvel, a new Captain Marvel that looked really cool. So, um, yeah, he was just really, really prolific, and so many other things that I'm just. Oh yeah, he did, like, Jamie Madrox's The Multiple Man. Like, I had the first appearance. I may still have it. It was Giant Size Fantastic Four, like number 4, with the first appearance of the Multiple Man. And what a weird kind of character, like, oh, he can split himself into a bunch of different people. But he made the Multiple Man interesting. Like, that's what an incredible ability. You know what I mean? So, um, yeah, it was, he knew how to do these characters. And again, the stuff that I didn't agree with, maybe, um, that he never shoved it down our throats so much uh, that it was that it was just made that it ruined his writing. It was good. So anyhow, he will be missed. I just say all that to say he'll be missed, and I'm glad I got to talk a little bit about his Hulk run here. It was good stuff. Um, Steve just brought out multiple. Absolutely, just brought out multiple man. Good evening, Chris McNeil. Glad to have you along with us. Multiple man, yeah, multiple man. Was it? Is it Giant Size Fantastic Four #4? Is that one? Is that the first appearance? Giant Size Fantastic Four. I know Giant Size Fantastic Four was actually Giant Size Superstars with the Fantastic Four that had the Hulk versus the Thing, where their minds get swapped, and the Thing has the Hulk's body, and vice versa. And there was, I think, #3 was the Four Horsemen, a weird kind of like not Apocalypse's Four Horsemen, but literally the Four Horsemen of the Apocalypse. So yeah, I was right. Giant Size Fantastic Four Volume 1, #4. Someone's trying to sell that for $200 on eBay. I don't think it's going to go for quite that much, everybody. I don't even know if I still have that issue or not. So, yeah, he did that, and I brought it up. So, boom. What now? Where do we go from here? It's getting late. I know it's late. I know you're geeky. I know your plans. They don't include me. I'm looking to see. I don't have any notes at this point. I just remember what I put in the description, and I don't know. So let's take a sip, and I guess I should tell you about some affiliates here at Geek Out Loud. Let's talk about Stand Shoes. Standshoes.com. Use the promo code GeekOut over at standshoes.com. I don't okay, hold on. Let's do this. Edit. No, that's not going to work. I should have marked down the time. Mark the time, and here's the ad. Because I'm going to have to cut this out for the Patreon. Patreon.com/geekoutloud. To do ad-free. Standshoes.com. Now, these are energy recovery shoes. They're slip-resistant, cloud-like comfort, fluid-resistant, antimicrobial, easy to clean, shock-absorbent, all the great things. I can't tell you good enough things about Stand shoes. I have a pair, and I wear them on Sunday nights and Wednesday nights, particularly when I'm going to be up on my feet for an hour or more, and they have made a huge difference. Walking around in them, huge difference. I have the Anti-Grav 1 shoes, I believe, in the blue color. And I would say I'm super happy with them. So check them out, standshoes.com. Use the promo code GEEKOUT at your checkout for a discount. And I'm look, I'm just telling you, I don't there. I'm going to be talking about other affiliates we have that I cannot recommend as highly as I do the Stand shoes, because I haven't tried them yet. But I will tell you this. I can tell you about the Stand shoes because when I got this, when I entered into this affiliation with them, I did not want to promote a product, and I don't want to promote any of these products that I don't know. But I want you to know that these are some good shoes. So check them out. Standshoes.com and use the promo code GEEKOUT at checkout. And I appreciate you guys checking them out for us. Goodness gracious. I'm having a hard time getting over to my affiliate pages there. So, well, let's do this. Let's go to this little document right here. Oh, you know what? Breakfast, long table pancakes. Longtablepancakes.com. Use the promo code Geek Out there as well. Now these are pancakes that are fork to farm or farm to fork, good stuff. And they were featured on Shark Tank at one point. I can't wait to try these. I've got to order some of these and try them because I'm pretty excited about them. They're heirloom grain pancakes and waffle mix. Now, last week or 2 weeks ago on the show, I saw where someone commented, I like waffles, not pancakes. This is waffle mix too. You can do this. And you can completely make waffle mix with it. The instructions are right there on the packet. They have several different varieties for you to choose from. 20% off when you use the promo code GEEKOUT at longtablepancakes.com. I love pancakes. I'm happy to promote pancakes, and I'm happy to promote Long Table Pancakes for you. Head over to their website, longtablepancakes.com. Use the promo code GEEKOUT. Discover the Long Table heirloom grain pancake mixes lovingly grown on regenerative farms, packed with protein and flavor. They are a breakfast game changer. Longtablepancakes.com, promo code GEEKOUT. I want to do this one as though I am Paul Harvey, okay? Big Fork Brands, bacon sausage, Chicago sauce, pork jerky. Big Fork Brands, promo code GEEKOUT. Big Fork Brands is based in Chicago, Illinois, the home of great hot dogs. Savor the flavor revolution with Big Fork Brands, Chicago's finest sauces, bacon sausage, and paleo jerky. Elevate every bite, Windy City style. And now, page 3. That's bigforkbrands.com, promo code GEEKOUT. You'll get 20% off any product when you use the promo code GEEKOUT. They say it's your gateway to Flavor Nirvana. Based in the heart of Chicago, this family-owned business crafts the finest burger and hot dog sauces, bacon sausages, and paleo-friendly treats. Our standout product, the Real Windy City sauce, captures the essence of Chicago's vibrant culinary scene. Dive into our range of pork sticks, bacon sausage, and paleo jerky, all designed to satisfy your cravings while supporting a keto-friendly lifestyle. At Big Fork, we believe in wholesome ingredients and bold flavors, ensuring every bite is a celebration of taste. Elevate your meals with our unique offerings and experience while we're the ultimate choice for flavor enthusiasts. Embrace the Big Fork difference and indulge today. Bigforkbrands.com. Use the promo code GEEKOUT. Have you got a Geek Out Loud t-shirt? Have you got a Geek Out Loud t-shirt? Head over to tpublics.com. There'll be a link in the description below and get your classic Geek Out Loud t-shirt. Snag that. You can snag the Return of the Jedi version, Geek Out Loud, the Power of the Goal shirt, the new Goalmation t-shirt. Check that out. Yo Goal, the t-shirt, the G.I. Joe t-shirt. You can get a Big Honkin' Bobby t-shirt over at Geek Out Loud, the Schoolhouse Gold t-shirt. All of these designs available as t-shirts, hoodies, hats, different things over at our TeePublic store. Link will be in the description. We encourage you to get some Geek Out Loud merch, and we appreciate your support of Geek Out Loud. And now, you know what? Let's do this. Let's honor our Patreon supporters with a Patreon ad, and that you've heard before, that I have not redone, but we can also, as you listen, if you enjoy the fun of Geek Out Loud and you're in a position to support the show, check out our Patreon at patreon.com/geekoutloud. Patreon supporters get exclusive shows, including lost episodes of The Big Honkin' Show, if we find them, The Movie Show with Steve and Dave, Hulk Out Loud with Shaz Bazaar, Petra Means Rock Out Loud, the Forceology course with Professors Glosson and Shaz, the Hot Tub Geek Machine, and now ad-free episodes of Geek Out Loud. Also enjoy exclusive access to the Geek Out Loud Discord, which is a thing I forgot, and it's a thing, so I haven't checked it out in weeks, probably months. But you can get access if you enjoy laughing and good discussions about all the things we enjoy. Then the Geek Out Loud Patreon experience is for you. Thanks to all of you who have supported in the past, are supporting now, or even if you're just thinking about it. It means the world to me, and I look forward to seeing you there. Here's a clip from a recent episode, well, not so recent, over on Patreon. Listen, he's kicked up. He's waking up.
Uh-oh.
He's waking up.
Oh, that's a nice shot of the mountain there.
Yeah. I believe that's a fake mountain.
Yes, I'm sure.
There's Godzilla.
And
Look
this
below.
is the stuff. This is the stuff they used early in the movie when we
Here
were
we
worried
go.
about that guy jumping over the rail.
Yes, here we go. Listen, we're about to see an awesome move by King Kong here. I just want you to know, because this is it now. This is the fight. This is what we've been waiting for. Godzilla's not running away. I mean, King Kong's not running away this time.
He's ready.
They got to let that monkey go. Drop the monkey. There we go.
Monkey.
Now watch. Here we go. He's coming down.
Oh my gosh!
Boom!
Oh,
And Godzilla goes
good
tumbling.
grief.
Godzilla is down. That's right. Film it, buddy. Kong's up. Kong's up. He's going up the hill again. It's over, Godzilla. I have the high ground. You are my brother, Godzilla.
I loved you.
He has the high ground. Here comes Godzilla. You underestimate my power. And now the big brain King Kong, it looks like he's going back to the well for something that didn't work last time, maybe? Is he? Oh, I thought he was looking for a rock.
Oh yeah.
Instead, he's
That
coming
doesn't look
around.
bad there with the arms.
Where'd Kong go? Oh, Kong is using his big brain.
Yeah.
Using his big brain to hide from Godzilla. Little pea brain Godzilla now looking around. Godzilla's confused as to what's going on. Marco. Polo.
Congo.
Yeah. Kong now. Watching that tail. He's got him by the tail. I've got
dirty
a
move.
lizard by the tail. Yeah, and Kong continuing to go back to the tail. Godzilla trying to get away from him, Dave, trying to take a powder. Godzilla doesn't want any of Kong this time.
You don't want any part of that.
Kong's figured out if you don't get in front of him, he can't use that breath on you. The tail's too much. The tail's too much for
yeah.
Kong. The arm flapping, that can only signal one thing. Oh, right in the face with a rock.
Ow!
He's going to do it again, but not this time.
Oh man.
Godzilla. Oh, Kong unfazed. Now it's on. Atomic breath. But Godzilla, King Kong has seen that before, Dave. He hates the smell of burnt hair.
Ah!
Here we go. Collar elbow tie up.
Yeah.
And oh,
It's like Kong going for a choke there. Can't
Yeah.
quite get it.
Godzilla trying to get the underhand, trying to get the control. Well, maybe that was funny and possibly informative or thought-provoking. Maybe. Check out patreon.com/geekoutloud to support the show. And thank you to everyone who does support. We need to mention that we've had a couple that have been added to the Patreon since that graphic that you just saw was made. Want to welcome in and thank Philip Short joined as a free member. Carrie Brown became a member, and we thank him. The Movies with Steve membership. And Dan the Man 52 was in here, and we thank him for coming on. And thank you all who have supported the show for years, and some who still support the show. And if you've ever supported the show on Patreon, we greatly, greatly appreciate that. It means the world to me, more than you could ever know. And I greatly appreciate your support over at patreon.com/geekoutloud. Now, edit. What do we want to talk about? We don't have a lot of time. It's so late. But there are a few things I wanted to mention before we got out of here. One, that incredible new Superman trailer that came out to promote ticket sales for Superman. And I got to tell you something. There is a great shot of him like working on keeping a building from collapsing, and he looks over at a woman in a car. You get a little bit of the hey buddy, eyes up here. There's some talk between him and Mr. Terrific. There's some stuff where he's got some stuff around his eyes. It looks like he's really burned his eyes out doing the heat vision and stuff. There's a lot there. And one of the things that's really interesting is this well, I tell you, there's a shot of him with a little baby. and it's a weird kind of thing, and I don't know what's going on in that, but it's there. And of course, we see Luther and them going into the fortress, and I know that's that that we actually had some talk about that last time around. Maybe they won't mess me up for playing it without the sound. Who knows? What a great shot here with his mom and dad. He's obviously beat up there in the bed, and something's going on. There's stuff we have seen. There's stuff that Luther is saying about him. You kind of get Luther's motivation a little bit through somewhat this trailer is doing and everything. That awesome shot of the fortress, the shot of him. That was stuff we saw. Look at that. They're just calling that monster the big kaiju. So that's pretty cool. I mean, they're keeping with that. There's that armor that, you know, I don't know, like obviously this is edited very well. Golly, he's fighting alongside Crypto. Super cool. There's this weird things happening where the city's being brought, and then Guy Gardner calls him Big Blue at that one point. It's just really cool. All right. So right here, there's a shot. It looks like Crypto's over here, to the left of the screen. I can't tell if they're in space or something. There's tentacles around him, and you can see a person over to the right. There's a head there. And then there's like a little green baby that looks like it's crying. What in the world is going on here, man? That's some trippy Guardians of the Galaxy stuff happening right there. It looks like that could be Metamorpho doing some stuff, but that doesn't explain the little baby. It doesn't explain Crypto going nuts. I'm wondering if Superman is this is one of those scenes where he's in the glass cage and Metamorpho is doing something to his brain to make him kind of trip out or something. That's not necessarily Metamorpho's power. This is like Terrific's little flyer thing, and Lois is flying that. Superman's doing some stuff. Golly, when all the kids start chanting Superman, it's awesome. Little girl walking along. Why is she just walking along like normal when there's a big monster rampaging? The way this is, the shot where he's under something and he turns around and looks back up, it's like he's flying to rest, and Mr. Terrific looks over at him and says, "What are you doing?" He's like, "I'm working on it, man." So we get to hear him talk a little bit more. Just really cool. I mean, there's some really cool stuff we're seeing. I hope we're not seeing all the cool stuff at once. You know what I mean? Like that is kind of the thing that happens sometimes in trailers. It happened in a lot of ways with Superman Returns. There were some things they revealed in the trailers. Like, man, I wish I would have seen that for the first time on the big screen. I'm looking forward to this movie. There was a cool scene. I think they showed. It might have been like one of the dog food things where like he's trying to get Crypto to settle down. He won't, and he keeps nipping at him and biting him. I was like, ow, ow. I'm like, golly, that's life with a puppy. I know what he feels. I know what Superman's going through there because my wife has put me through the same thing. We do get to see some shots of him flying. Man, they're using that fisheye lens like it's nobody's business with him flying around, aren't they? So, yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Still, there's nothing about that trailer that has changed my opinion about looking forward to this movie. I'm not super stoked about the S symbol the way it is. I'm more stoked about the story, and I'm hoping that it'll be. I'm thinking that it's going to be what we kind of want out of a Superman movie. I hope it's not too jokey. It's man, look how fickle am I? I hope it's not too jokey, but I hope it's not too serious either. I don't want it to be dark, but I don't want it to be too light. Maybe it won't be this. That's what I sound like. I get that. Mission Impossible: Final Reckoning. Saw it. Man, what a ride. I'm not going to give any spoilers. Can I just say what a fun thing the Mission Impossible series has been. I remember in the mid 90s when the first one came out, and when you think about like the iconic shot of the one in the mid 90s is him in the vault, to steal the list and everything, to steal the knock list and, doing the whole hanging thing. and that is the iconic shot from Mission Impossible 1. Mission Impossible 2 was a John Woo film through and through. You know, it was action packed, and of course there's the motorcycle chase, and you've got to have a scene where doves are flying up all over the place. And really it just wasn't the quality of the first one in a lot of ways. And I think that there might have been the thought that, well, that's it. And it was what, 5 years or so, 4 years maybe, until Mission Impossible 3 came out. And Mission Impossible 3, it's almost like, I think that by this point Tom Cruise had decided, like was a producer on these things, and that was J.J. Abrams. And it's almost like there was a decision made, we can make something happen. And we're going to do this franchise right, and it's going to be a spy thriller. And good night. The Philip Seymour Hoffman was just incredibly scary in that movie. Great villain. Tom Cruise gets put through the ringer. You know, this isn't. You don't look. James Bond goes through a lot, and I know with the Daniel Craig stuff, like he gets a lot more beat up. But when you go back and watch like Roger Moore and Sean Connery and even Pierce Brosnan, you know, James Bond getting a bruise is random. You're not going to see that a lot. Good night. Ethan Hunt goes through it, doesn't he? And so the rest that come after that, you know, Brad Bird, I think, did 4, which was Ghost Protocol. And then it was Christopher McQuarrie, I believe, that did Rogue Nation and Fallout, and then Dead Reckoning, and now Final Reckoning. And those two, Cruise and McQuarrie, just were, they're a team, man. And they made these Fallout. You're like breathless at the end of that movie. It's just absolutely like, oh my gosh. I enjoyed Dead Reckoning. I really did. I saw the feature on the big stunt, you know, with the jumping the dirt bike into the parachute thing, and I'm like, I'm in. I'm all in now with this. And I know it didn't make a lot of money, and I don't know what the circumstances of that were. I don't think it was a bad movie. I think that I think there was a timing thing maybe, and I really do think it's worth going back and watching if you haven't seen Dead Reckoning. It doesn't really end on a cliffhanger, but it does end with some loose ends that are not tied up. And this last one picks up with those loose ends and runs with it, you know, and you realize, oh, that wasn't just loose ends, that was a cliffhanger. But this last one also does so much to bring so much back in. Unanswered questions from Mission Impossible 3 are now answered. Stuff that took place in 1 comes back full circle in this, in a couple of ways. One way kind of unnecessary, the other way just great. I'm so glad they did it. You know, you're dealing with AI and that sort of thing, you know, and this I would say fantastical version of AI, but I don't know that that's the case with some of the things I've seen lately that people are doing with it. The story was great. It's too long. If I have any criticism of it, it's too long. 2 hours and 50 minutes is too long for a Mission Impossible movie. And I can tell you where all the cuts need to be made. And it would be just as good. I think that, golly, but the thing is, and it's 2 hours and 50 minutes that you feel because it is so intense. And they do something early on where you realize that anything is up for grabs. Nobody is safe. And that kind of adds to when you've got a title like Final Reckoning and things happen where you realize nobody is safe. And you know, I will say this as well. Can we do a Mission Impossible where where Ethan Hunt and the team are actually not suspected of being rogue agents. They're not on the run from the country. They're not people. You know, I feel like let's see, Mission Impossible 2 is the only one that did that. I will give that to Mission Impossible 2. Mission Impossible 2, he was actually on an IMF mission the whole time, and no one ever said, "Well, you're on your own, buddy." Mission Impossible 3, he's having to do his own thing to save his wife. Mission Impossible 4, you know, it's like we've been disavowed and the whole thing, you know, we've been blamed for blowing up the Kremlin. Mission Impossible 5 is suddenly like, there's no such thing as a syndicate. You can't write. And then Mission Impossible 6 is like, we don't like him doing this. We're going to do things our way. We're the CIA. And, you know, it's, yeah. I don't know that I'd keep going back if I got treated that way, regardless. Final Reckoning. Good, long pack of lunch, and it could be edited. But I think if this is going to be the last entrance into that franchise, or last entrant into the franchise, then it is a worthy final chapter of Mission Impossible, Final Reckoning. So I suggest, yes, go see it. Go see it. Is there anything else that I have billboarded in the description of this thing that we haven't talked about? I said if time permits. Oh, fantastic. We're going to have to cut the Fantastic Four segment. I want to talk about Walt Simonson's run on Fantastic Four and what that did for comics, for the Marvel Cinematic Universe, to me, and what I thought of it, you know, at the time, and what I think now looking back, and a couple other things that brought into the world of comic books and comic book history when Walt Simonson took over the Fantastic Four, and how that worked. And so we'll talk about that, Lord willing, next episode. We also don't have time to open a Star Wars. We got to get on out of here. But I do want to say, once again, thank you to everyone who supports us through Patreon at patreon.com/geekoutloud. Thanks to everyone who emailed at geekoutonline@gmail.com. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, share, all that good stuff. And I would greatly appreciate that. It helps. You know what? It helps us beat the algorithm. This whole algorithm thing that nobody really fully understands. It helps us get around that old algorithm deal. And what more could you ask for than to get around the algorithm? So like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. We appreciate it and are glad that we had to have you all along with us. Right now, we have 387 subscribers. When we hit 400, we are going to plunge headlong into copyright strikes galore, because we are going to finish out the Marchish, Madness-ish, brackets-ish, and settle on what is the greatest movie score of all time, according to the Golaverse. So you want to be that for sure. geekoutonline@gmail.com. Don't forget to check out our affiliates, the affiliate links that you'll see in the description. Go get yourself a t-shirt. Go get yourself some Geek Out Loud merch. Go join us on Patreon. Do all the fun stuff. And we really greatly appreciate it. And we will see you all around the Golaverse. Thanks for joining us, everyone. I appreciate you so very much. We'll see you.